Reminder that if you want to be exceptional, you're going to be different from everyone else. That's what makes you exceptional. You can't fit in and also be exceptional. Both have discomfort. When you fit in, you have internal conflict because you're not being 100% you. When you're exceptional, you have external conflict because everyone sees you as different. Pick one. When your friends start to say, you've changed, remember it's because they don't know how to say, you've grown.
I define words a lot because it helps me kind of like make sense of the world. And like exceptional is like an obvious one, right? We use the word exceptional like you are not like everyone else. Even saying it like that, like you are not like everyone else. And so if someone says you're not like everyone else, then you can just reframe that as like, I am exceptional. And that's not a bad thing. And I actually think that most people have, like, this might be counter to most people's beliefs, but I think most people have the potential to be exceptional. And because most people are peculiar in their own way. They just stifle that because they want to be accepted by most people, but in so doing, never accomplish what they want to do because they conform. And so, like, if there's probably a lot of things about the world or even your world around you that you're like, this never made sense to me, but then you do it anyways. And I think that a lot of innovation and a lot of what makes people exceptional is feeling, thinking that thought or seeing that thing and then being like, I don't think I'm going to follow that rule anymore. Like, why do I need to shower twice a day? Like, I don't know, like, why do I need to wear different clothing? Like, there's just a lot of these social norms that people, usually pass down to us or they're, bred into us in high school and college and things like that. But it's like you see a guy who, wears a cowboy hat and dresses a certain way, and he basically wants to say, I am this archetype of person. But if cowboy boots aren't as comfortable for you as New Balances are, and you know that and you still wear cowboy boots, I would call you a fraud. Because like that is like it's like a micro rebellion against yourself.
Yep.
It's like there is, and like I look at old people a lot because usually they don't give a shit anymore. They've just like given up. And there was a survey that they did where the number one reason that old people like don't have as much drama and they're happier is they say they cited they literally don't have time for it. Like literally they don't have time for it. And I found that so interesting. And I was like, well, if I'm going to eventually be that way when I'm 80, I might as well just start being that way now. And so they usually wear like really comfortable footwear and like they keep their surroundings like whatever weird peculiarities they have, they just accept them. And so I think a lot of like, if life is a long journey of self-acceptance, I think the earlier you can accept your own peculiarities as just part of you, rather than trying to justify them or mold to the archetype that you think is acceptable within your social circle. At least for me, like there's this period of discomfort when you change anything because everyone around you wants you to fit within the label that they are comfortable with.
But they also have the anchor of what you were before.
Yeah, exactly. And so they try and like, they people don't like that. And so they're like, no, I like you in this box. So just say, I know you're having a little thing right now. Don't worry. Just, and they just want to shove you back into it. And there's a lot of uncomfortable conversations that you have to have where it becomes really socially awkward. And so like I said one the other day about like going home for the holidays. And the reason I don't like doing it is because often I have to confront a lot of people that I haven't seen in a long time. And they'll speak to me in a way that I don't like. And before that, I would roll it off like whatever, no big deal. But I don't accept that.
Didn't you torpedo a family holiday a couple of years ago?
Many.
Yeah,
Many.
I think. But that's when your friends start to say you've changed, it's because they don't know how to say you've grown.
And because they see so few people who have, so it makes sense that they don't have that. So I see that as a lack of skill, not malice. Like it's not that they're bad people. They just don't even know it because so few people do change.
Yeah.
So few people do grow.
Have you seen this image? It's a person whose heart and head are flowers. It's kind of a 2D drawing.
Okay.
It's a bit of a sketch.
Okay.
And they say this person with the kind of smaller flower head and heart says, you've changed.
Mm-hmm.
And the person on the other side with this huge blooming thing says, I should hope so.
Yeah. I haven't seen it, but I see it in my head.
Yeah. It's brilliant. One of my friends, George Mack, told me this 5 years ago, I think. I'm astounded by how many people want to be spectacular in life, but also want to be normal. By being normal, you are, by definition, aiming for average. Normal people get normal results. Exceptional people get exceptional results. You literally can't do what everyone else does and expect to not get what everyone else has got. By doing what everyone else does, you guarantee average results.
Okay. So this comes down to everything that like business. I mean, obviously I come from the business and investing world. like if everyone is jumping onto crypto, like by the time you have all the information to make a perfect decision, it's too late. And by the time you have consensus where everyone's like, that's a good investment, it probably isn't, because it's already been mispriced, because it's already inflated and it's above what its intrinsic value is. And so like good investors fundamentally can think for themselves. And it's such an easy thing to say and such a hard thing to do. And so it's being able to say, if I shut myself in a room and I had to come up with a value for something and just use my own mind to come up with what I think this is worth, it's that answer that you get in a room, in isolation, with no internet connection, that you believe in that number more than every single other person's. And most people can't do that. But like that ability. And then what happens though is if you really have to believe in that rather than everyone else's, you double check your fucking math. Because if it is different than everyone else's, you have the that is what opportunity
advantage.
looks like. Right. It's like, and you have the potential to make a shitload of money or lose a ton of money because you didn't check your math. And so the more I've been reinforced for thinking independently, and in the beginning it's on small things, and then you just continue to reinforce that cycle of, I came to this conclusion on my own. It seems different than everyone else's, but I think my thing makes sense. So I'm going to do that.
How would you advise someone to overcome that regression to the mean, that pull to not make waves, to not be heterodox or non-typical when it comes to their decision making? Because it's hard. You're talking about this internal conflict versus external conflict. Yeah. How do you make the internal conflict more important than the external conflict?
For me, I was more miserable trying to make everyone else happy than I am now with everyone else unhappy with me. And so I think like from the social group that I had before I quit my job, if we're going all the way like ground zero to today, I talked to no one from that time in my life compared to today. And I was absolutely miserable and unhappy and unfulfilled. And I would say that the majority of those people probably don't like me today because I changed. I didn't do what I was supposed to do. He thinks he's so fancy now, et cetera, et cetera. And I think I'm just okay with that. And so I think coming to terms with the idea that I could be absolutely rejected by everyone I know, but like me, I was more okay with that because the alternative was I didn't want to live anymore. And so obviously there's degrees and there's continuums and there's stages of where people are at with that. But as that being the taken to its logical extreme, would I rather live for them than live for me? I would rather be hated by everyone and like myself.
There's a degree of honesty is the right word, but it's also too simple. Like being completely 100% truthful with yourself. If that's the way, this is why, have I told you about the motocross, the rallycross thing that me and my housemate love?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so you know like Colin McRae, these guys that drive four-wheel,
Okay.
There's the dude in the co-pilot seat and it's 5 left bend, all that shit. These guys that go and watch this are in the middle of some fucking wood in Ayrshire, right, in Scotland, and it's pissing wet and it's November and they've got a poncho on and they get to drive for however long to get to this place. You can even see, thinking about it, the hairs on my arms are standing up. This is how fucking dope it is. So these guys are there and they see some dude in overcast rain, freezing cold, soaking wet, go, and then they turn to all of their boys and they're like, ah. Watching someone who loves anything with that much purity fires me up. It fires me up. Like we love watching, we don't watch it for what the cars are doing. We watch it for what it does to the spectators. And that degree of like just unencumbered passion. Not being apologetic. Like they're probably wearing comfy shit. They're not wearing cowboy boots.
Right.
You know what I mean? No one, they look like a large condom in this poncho. Do they care?
Right.
They don't care. And that's purity. That's truthfulness and honesty. And really, like what are you hoping to be able to look back on your life or for people to say after you're gone if you don't do that? He was such a good guy and he never rocked the boat. He was such a good guy and he always conformed to our expectations. He was such a good guy and he was so predictable.
Right.
Like people think, and I did throughout a lot of my 20s, I thought that what people wanted from me was someone that they could easily predict. But I realized when I thought about the people that I loved in my life, I didn't love them because of how predictable they were. I loved them because of how unapologetically themselves they were. I have a friend who nearly ended a relationship that he's still with, the love of his life, who's probably going to end up marrying, because he refused to not sleep on the floor for 6 months as part of Alex Becker's doing it at the moment.
Yeah.
Like, he's like, sleeping on the floor seems to be like a pretty dialed idea. And she's like, I'm not sleeping on the floor. Well, I am. So they didn't sleep together for like, you know, for like a long time.
Yeah.
Like those are the people that you love. And those are the people that you can, because they pay such a high price to do that.
Yeah.
You can be very reliable at presuming that they mean what they're saying.
Mm-hmm.
Because if they didn't really mean what they're saying, they would conform, they would take an easier path.
I love all of that. I was trying to kind of consolidate it for myself and the listeners. For me, it comes down to truly valuing your opinion of yourself more than other people's opinion of you. And it's an easy thing to say, and it's incredibly hard to do, because that means that if you disagree with everyone else in the room, there's this meme that I love. I don't know if you've seen it. There's this little cartoon of this one little guy, and then there's like an ocean of people that way, and it just says, yes, you're all wrong. And I feel like that meme, Joe Rakashi, my brother and editor in the books, in the battle against nihilism and towards truth, we send that meme back and forth to one another when we're like, yes, everyone is wrong about this word. Like, we are right. And I think it's just being willing to but the only way you can believe in a thing or an idea or even yourself is because you have the evidence behind you that supports that your belief isn't full of shit. So that when you're in that room and you come up with that one number and you say, I think everyone's wrong, I think this is actually what it's worth, you're not just making it up to say you believe something different. You actually have proof and evidence that you're not full of shit. And I think that's the work. Is like, I looked into a lot of the stuff on the floor sleeping. I think it checks out. I'm going to do it. Like,
I think everyone else is wrong.
I think everyone else is wrong. And everyone's like, you're an idiot. And you're like, I think you're wrong. And that's okay. You know what I mean? And it's just, most people can't do that. Just the idea of being weird is too much. Like, just like,
did you ever, this is quite old now. It's at least a decade old. I think it's called 50 Days of Rejection or 100 Days of Rejection.
I love it already.
So it's a series of experiments that you do every day for 100 days.
Yeah.
And there's a different one each day. And one of them is ask for a free coffee when you go to Starbucks.
Oh, I love it.
Just say, hey, can I have this for free?
Yeah.
And I don't know whether it escalates over time, but there's like weird stuff, things that you do to people in public, things that blah, blah, blah. And it's trying to overcome that. Like, it's in your throat, you know, when you feel that, and your cheeks get flush and everything kind of gets hot.
Get embarrassed
around here. Yeah, it's that embarrassment, it's that shame, it's that, well, what if they think?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
What if they think what?
Yeah.
So yeah, someone should redo that. It's like a decade old now, but someone should redo. I think I'm certain it's called 100 Days of Rejection.
Good YouTube idea.
That would be a great YouTube idea to do 100 Days of Rejection or whatever it is. All right, next one.
I just want to, I promise you, if you can actually go through 100 days of rejection, your life will change, because you will realize that at the end of the 100 days, you're still alive and nothing changed.
Well, I'm going to die.
Yeah.
That's the fear. The fear is, I'm going to ask for the coffee and they're going to say no. And then everyone's going to laugh at me. And then I'm going to be alone. And then I'm going to be unsheltered. And then I'll be dead.
Yeah. It's catastrophized to death. We all do it. And so, I mean, obviously I come from a sales background, so getting people to say no to me is something that I'm now...
If you've asked drunken Newcastle girls where they're going tonight, darling, for a decade and a half on the street trying to give out wristbands for a free entry to a club night no one wants to go to, you get good at rejection as well. That's what I honestly think, that everyone is always going to campaign for the thing that they did, right? You're always going to say something along the lines of, I think people can learn a lot from sales. Yeah. And I'm always going to say, I think people can learn a lot from being in club promo. But like, honestly, dude, the insight that you get into human nature from doing that, from seeing what do people object to and why do they object in that way, and what happens if someone like gets physical with you because you tried to do it, and you go, oh, well, I wasn't in the wrong, so de-escalating this should actually be quite easy, and I can have faith that everyone's going to see me as the right guy, even if somebody else took objection with what I was doing. So yeah, long story short, become a club promoter. All right, next one.